we go. I can hear you. Thank you so much. Sorry for the drama there.
No, that's okay.
And thank you everybody for your patience as we got started. But I am joined here today with Molly Basler. We are here just to share about her vision for Los Angeles and get motivated for the 2022 election. So Molly, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for getting everything working with Instagram Live. I know it's always a challenge. No, I think it was me, so it is not a problem. But I'll just jump in and get started. So for folks who haven't joined us before, we're Rise Together. We started because we know that Los Angeles is in crisis, but that it doesn't have to be this way. We know that as Angelenos, we can create lasting and positive change together. A huge part of doing that is by electing people who are going to make that change happen in the city council, in the mayor's office, in the controller's office, in the city attorney's office, across city government, that if we have the right leaders in place, we can create change for the things that matter to us the most.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. So with that, we are doing these interviews to make this just a little bit more accessible, to make the 2022 municipal elections a little bit easier to get started, to find out what's happening and who candidates are and what they believe in. With that said, this is not a part of our endorsement process at all. It is just a opportunity for us to get to know candidates and vice versa. So with that, Molly, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with the same question I always start with, which is, what does a city councilor do and how does that affect our lives?
Okay, city councilor, well, what our city council members are doing lately, not a lot. But what a city council does is oversees a council, which I'm running for CD5. Paul Koretz is the current city council member who is terming out. And what we do as a city council member is we work with, it works with the mayor to work on issues for the city. City council has a lot of power. And then the individual ones, we do traffic regulations. We can levy taxes. We work on contracts. We can help with traffic regulations. We do the sign off of the developers. We do climate crisis. There's so many things. The city council has a lot of power, and that's why it's really important and to vote in leaders and who are leading, not just politicians, who are actually serving the people. That's my thing too. The city council, the mayor, all of the current people usually end up, they get a high salary, they get perks, and they sort of forget about the constituents that they're supposed to be serving and think that the people are here to serve them, and that is not the case. So, and the city council works with the mayor and sort of holds the mayor in check of the he or she's power. And the mayor does have the final veto say on things that the city council might want to vote on or go through with. So you want, and I tell people this too, it's really important to know. So many people don't even know what council they live in, who their city council is, who their assembly person is. I mean, I didn't know until I got involved, but I want to do things before. I want to hold some town halls before I'm elected, just educating people on who their city council is, who they're, so people, that's why we keep voting in the same person, is because most people, they'll see a familiar name, they'll, check whatever. And in fact, you guys did a video, which I love, called The Council Member. It was, and like two-thirds of the people vote in the council districts or something. I mean, some outrageous.
Yeah, it's like not even there. It's like less than that.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, it's like, so most people don't even vote for the city council. So we get someone who isn't really overseeing all the people. They're seeing
Hmm.
this one small group who voted them in. And we need to hold our council members accountable. Like someone just texted me today about composting. Now, composting has been passed through the city council, but no one's been talking about it. And this is part of the climate crisis. We need to be composting and getting methane
Hmm.
and out of our atmosphere. So I'm going to start looking into that. But that is something that the city council can also oversee. And
Hmm.
they created the climate emergency mobilization, um, which Paul Koretz was a bit, that was his sort of brainchild with Andy Schrader. And then it got delayed because of COVID. But so things like that. I mean, the city council is a oversees the district, and then the city council together, have to also vote on things that they feel is best for each other's council. But it's also interesting. The LA City Council is the only council that always votes. No one ever votes against each other. So that's
Hmm.
interesting.
Yes, no, absolutely. That was very helpful. I appreciate you giving like that context. And now I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and why you decided to run.
Okay, I'm born and raised in LA. I did spend some time in San Francisco. I finished my education up there and lived up there, but always came back home. A few years ago, I got very involved in the Democratic Party. I got very involved with the climate emergency, the environmental. I heard Al Gore speak, and he has a organization called the Climate Reality Project. And I went home that night, I looked it up, and I signed up, and I went to Pittsburgh, and I trained with Al Gore to be a climate leader. And I started to give talks, and I joined the West LA Dems, and I talked to them. I said, why isn't the Democratic Party completely green and sustainable across the board? Like, why are we not leading by example? So when
Hmm.
people come to a Democratic event, everything is compostable. We have compost bins. We don't have plastic. We don't, serve a lot of meat and dairy, which is a huge contributor to the climate crisis.
Hmm.
So I just started in, and I organized the Green Dream campaign. You can look it up, greendreamcampaign.com. Um, and we launched it with Senator Ben Allen and Congressman Ted Lieu, and actually Paul Koretz was there. He awarded me a leadership award. R.L. Miller, Russell. I mean, it was so great. It was in the backyard of a progressive in Santa Monica. It was a beautiful event. And we launched this Green Dream campaign asking the Democratic Party of California to go green and be sustainable at all our events,
Hmm.
to ride bikes and take public everything down to how we get to events, how we carry out events. I did a talk at the LACDP, Los Angeles County Democratic Party. And I mean,
Hmm.
it's so waste filled. It's disgusting. Everybody uses too much paper, and we have to do things differently. We have to
Hmm.
live differently because we don't have the luxury anymore of living the way we did, which was wasteful and creating havoc. So
Hmm.
then I started doing all this stuff, community organizing. And I thought I need a bigger platform. Oh, I have a podcast. I started a podcast. And I thought, I want to run. I want a bigger
Hmm.
platform. I want to help more people. And because that's really what, to me, it's about, is helping my fellows and the planet.
Hmm.
And I'm a big animal welfare person. I mean, I think it's all connected. It's all
Yeah.
connected. I want to help my homeless brothers and sisters out there on the streets. The
Hmm.
fact that we have so much homelessness and not affordable
I
housing,
know. Well,
it's
and that, yes, that actually is the perfect segue to my next question, which is, as you were saying, obviously homelessness and affordability are really the two biggest issues here in Los Angeles. Like
right.
those are people's biggest concerns, and they're so interconnected. Because if you can't afford to live here, if you get evicted, you end up homeless. Like it
Right.
is a cycle. So I would love to hear about how you would use the role of city councilor to first of all, take care of the people who are currently unhoused, and then also what you would do to make the city more affordable so that we don't see homelessness increasing.
Right. So I wanted, see, my ideas are always about unity, unifying, discussing, actually talking, stepping across, like the developers. Why don't we talk to the developers? Because they're all on their own trip, right? They want to make money. They're developing all these crazy luxury apartments, and which then the city council members, I mean, there's all these council members that were taking bribes. I mean, it's a mess. So why don't we come together on some of these things and talk it out and make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, people say that's crazy, but I believe it's possible. I believe that we can talk things out. Also, to pass a law or that they must build. Now, they've been doing this. They build like 5 affordable housing units in these big luxury apartments, right? But it's not enough.
Yeah.
But this is what's really sad though too, and this is sort of an aside. As we're here trying to get affordable housing and more housing, and I always say green and sustainable, built, our brothers and sisters up in Sacramento and our governor, they signed off on SB 9 and 10, which is going to be another a huge mess for us, because these guys who now have no rules to bind them can take a lot and build 4 things on it, and it's going to create a mess, and they're not going to build affordable housing. So it's going to be interesting to see why our governor passed that, and some of my fellows even supported it. I did not. So, you know, that's we also need to get our Senate, our Sacramento people up there together so we all know what each other's doing. You know, we're trying down here to get affordable housing while they're voting for SB 9 and 10. So I would also like to put a moratorium. I don't know. I mean, I know that's very radical, but we have to do radical actions to get big changes. That's the thing. I would like to put a moratorium on luxury building for a year and only build affordable housing. And I don't know why affordable housing people like go, oh, it's, you know, it doesn't, it's beautiful. It doesn't need.
Sorry,
Huh?
we're breaking up here a little bit.
Oh, we are?
Oh, good. I got you now.
Okay. So I want bring people together.
Molly, sorry. Oh, so sorry. I think we lost Molly, but I'm going to work on getting her back in. Let's see. Sorry again for these issues. I don't know what's going on. Okay, here we go. Oh, good. Oh my gosh.
This is like crazy. Maybe it's the storm that's coming. It's
I know, honestly, I'm like, it must be messing with the Wi-Fi or something. Anyway, no, I'm so sorry that interrupted you in the middle. I believe that we were talking, you had mentioned that we need to be focusing on building affordable housing rather than, you know, kind of putting a stop to building these luxury buildings while we get what we need with affordable housing.
Right, and we also need to, there's variations on what we need to do. We have mentally ill people who need to be housed and also diagnosed. And we have to reverse some laws that have allowed these people who are mentally ill to languish on our streets. And that was turned over many years ago. We've got to change that. We've got to get these people off our streets, diagnose them, rehabilitate them. We have drug and alcohol people out there. We've got to sober them up, get them housed, taken care of, and those would be in facilities, which I think we have plenty of real estate throughout LA, and repurpose buildings. That's another one of my things. Repurpose these old buildings, and that is more sustainable. And then train these people, the ones that can be trained, to be homeless advocates who go out and then help their brothers and sisters. And in the meantime, while we're building more affordable housing, is to put them in the small housing, which I think is a great idea. And some of these parking lots they're doing. Also, you know, in the hotel rooms. I mean, this is all possible, but there hasn't been enough political will, and there's been so much corruption that it's created gridlock.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually the perfect, that you're like perfectly introducing all my questions. And I want to be conscious of time. So this is going to be my last question, but obviously public faith in government has kind of gone down the drain recently, not only because of the series of indictments, but also I think just because of the constant promise that things are going to get better and nothing happening. Like, for example, Angelenos literally voted to tax themselves to help their unhoused neighbors, and it's just gotten worse. So I think that's just caused this feeling of hopelessness and a complete lack of trust that elected officials are really doing anything for us. So I would love to hear how you, as a city council member, would plan to rebuild that trust.
I want to have monthly town halls in strategic places like Pacific Pan Park, Westwood Recreational Center. I want to bring people together once a month where people can see, where I'm accountable. They can ask me questions. They can give me feedback. We can work things out together. But I will never hide out in my house and just go back and forth to City Hall, which I'm going to ride my bike, by the way, to City Hall if I'm elected. I want to put solar panels. I want to greenize City Hall. So,
yes.
I want to be available. I want to be an open book. I want town halls. I want to gather people, which I love to do. I think there's such and then it shows people that I am out there for them. I am available. And I believe during the riots, and I've said this, I talked about this in the last panel I was on, when the riots were happening around here, if our leaders had come out onto the streets, our city council, our mayor, our governor, instead of sending in the National Guard, if our leaders had come out and talked to people, gathered them in the parks, what can I do for you? Cross the line, cross over to theirs and heard what they wanted, it would have been a whole different outcome. It's the leaders and our mayor hiding out behind his gated mansion, that they become this royalty, and people don't feel heard. And what do? They're going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
And even the crime now that's so high, I talk about that. Why is our educational system so bad? Why in the wealthiest city, one of the wealthiest cities in the world, our school system is horrible? So people don't get educated, and we need to get these people educated and get them jobs.
Now,
so I would be available. I would have town halls. I would gather. I just want to gather people, and people can come, and I would do it once a month.
That's awesome. I thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, we are out of time,
but
that was so helpful. I loved hearing about how you want to serve and why you care so much about Los Angeles. Before I close this out, I would love if you could just quickly let people know where they can find you.
Okay. Go to mollyla2022.com. That's my website. I'm up on social media at mollyla2022, my Twitter, my Facebook, all of them are mollyla2022. I'm also doing a bike ride. If anyone would love to join, this Saturday at Martin's in the district, famous old, it's been there 80 years. Everybody has bought their bikes there. So 8:30 in the morning, we're going to do a ride through the district. And,
amazing.
And all levels are welcome. So it's not going to be a marathon. It's just going to be a leisure. We're going to go up Beverly and through Pan Pacific and around and through Westwood and then come back. And there'll be a Q&A and there'll be refreshments. So I'd love to welcome everybody and get to know me and get to know the district.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that is so awesome. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you to the folks who are on live. You are so welcome. And just in case you have just caught the end of this or only caught part of it, you can find this on our Instagram here in the next week or so, or on our YouTube this week, where we have all our other interviews that we've done. So Molly, thank you so much again for joining. This was wonderful.
Onward together, rise together.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Good night.
Bye. Thank you. Good night.